I've been doing cycle rides across Nicosia for the past 2 years. It's the only cycle ride that actually includes the north and the south. And I do it with a cycling partner who is a teacher, Costandino. It's fascinating to actually see people who, from both Cypriot Turkish and Cypriot Greek people, who are afraid to cross this barrier, which is the checkpoint. People that you wouldn't think that they would be afraid. It's fascinating. And you ask them, why are you afraid? And there's a whole load of reasons as to, this fear. And I think also the other element of it, if you're traveling around in a group, I think some of that fear might be dissipated. The other factor is, for example, for Cypriot Greeks to come to the north, if they have a Cypriot Turkish person leading the group and who can speak and who can actually link them into the locations.
This on a Saturday would be full, and the stalls would be full. And now the market has been moved out to a spot on the walls where it continues to thrive, but it has taken the life out of this part of the city.
And then I was thinking that it would be really good to sort of focus it and do something with literature. The idea came up of Treasure Island project, and I thought maybe it's a good opportunity to actually create a situation where you walk the city and you create a project beyond barriers. The barriers could be people, the barriers could be the physical checkpoints or the borders. The barriers are in your mind. The barriers are the languages that you can or you cannot speak. And also to go to places which normally other tours or other people don't go. Really see the city, see the graffiti, see the back streets, see the ordinary life in some ways, but link it into literature. But also the night is a barrier, for example. Women don't walk because of that. And also I wanted to have 2 different sessions, particularly targeting women, because women don't walk the city. There are particularly streets that they maybe walk. Litra Street and Osogora in the south. In the north, it's even worse. People are actually saying, oh, all these foreigners from Turkey came, it's very dangerous, you shouldn't really be walking the city. And so the other element I introduced was to do a night walk for women in particular, and to encourage women to walk the city, to reclaim the streets, to reclaim the city, not to be afraid, not to be frightened by whatever it is that they have inside them, or the physical dangers that they think or perceive they might have.
My walks until the border guards order me not to. All memories become controversial and contested in the dead zone. How to remember? Perhaps more crucially, I ask myself, what did I choose to forget? How are we to unstitch the sense we made of it, to wear the scars with equanimity? So that's Alev Adil.
So I'm really looking forward to, at the end of these 5 weeks, to see what sort of genres will come up, whether there is a particular sort of women's type of writing that might be coming up, emerging. I think these are all the different layers for me. Probably others will emerge as well, because if people get engaged with the project, they will be bringing their own perspectives, they will be bringing their own ideas, they will be changing, or will be motion. The whole project is in motion. And of course the other element of it is to film it, because also the images is very important. So we're doing the literature element of it, but also to give a chance to 5 emerging filmmakers, for example, to make their own story and use different genres. And I think that was also important for me, to sort of in some way pull literature and film maybe together, although it's always there. But the other ultimate thing for me is to actually have the city eternalized in some way in literature, so that, and this is Anglophone literature, so that we have a whole lot of pieces of writing which reflect different locations of Nicosia. And it's an ode to Nicosia in some way. And hopefully also it creates literatures of Cyprus which can be used in the teaching at universities, or in schools with the English medium, or even be translated into Turkish or into Greek to be used. This locality, the life of it. But the other thing I was really keen about is to encourage people to write in any genre, not just short story or poetry or whatever, but to actually write science fiction. Why don't we use, Nicosia and write science fiction, or fantasy or something, or like, the Latin American writers, Closa and Vargas and all these people. It's the first experiment. I'm really curious as to what will emerge, both in terms of film and in terms of the literatures. It's actually encouraging literature and young writers, and to get them to perform, get them to be inspired. And it's specifically focusing on Anglophone people who are writing in English. Doesn't matter where they come from, as long as they have some connection to Cyprus. Either they live here or they live in the diaspora, whatever ethnicity, whatever language, original language, as long as they're writing in English. And in some ways we're using the colonial language to unify a whole lot of people from all over the world who have made Cyprus their home, or they left from here and went into the diaspora. So it's a very multifaceted and a lot of a way of life, and looking at life in a very different way, moving away from this bipolarity, this bicommunalism, which I've been challenging for a very long time, and to get our heads around the fact that Cyprus belongs to a lot of people, and not just the Cypriot Greeks and Cypriot Turkish communities. And it's about time those two communities have got their heads around to acknowledge that other people from other worlds come and contribute to the wealth of what is Cyprus now. We need to recognize that and think around how we're going to manage this multicultural, multi-faith, multilingual society that we are. How are we going to develop approaches and methodologies in taking care of that and enabling those people to participate in the life of Cyprus, rather than marginalizing them and pushing them away because they're not Cypriot Greek or they're not Cypriot Turkish. So that's my philosophy of life.
The balconies look at the north side, deserted, forgotten in time. Who sat there, who laughed, fell in love or cried, I wonder. And then I see a child, a beautiful angel, with a smile of innocence and life in her eyes, reminding me of what I used to be and what it was like not to know to know that borders existed.
Thank you.